So today we're talking about time-restricted eating. So what is that? It's pretty much what it sounds like. It's referring to restricting your eating window, and it's focusing more on when you eat as opposed to what you eat. So obviously what you eat is important, but we often forget to talk about the timing of eating. And in my opinion, when you eat is equally, if not more important as what you eat. So it's something that's neglected. And when you think about our evolutionary history, our ancestors, they had a much shorter eating window, and they underwent much longer periods of fasting compared to what we do today, because we have constant food availability. So we never really do that, and we've been suffering with different health consequences because we've gotten away from what our biology requires, essentially. So I'm just going to give you a quick overview of circadian rhythm, because that's why this is important, because we need to be eating according to our circadian rhythm. So our circadian rhythm is a 24-hour cycle that all our cells follow. It's not just human cells, but every living organism is kind of attuned to this circadian rhythm. So the number one stimulus or input is light exposure. And we'll be talking about that in another video, but basically you want to be getting as much sunlight as possible, and also absence of sunlight at night. We've screwed that up with artificial lighting. There's other inputs from nature, such as the Earth's electromagnetic field, that help to tune our circadian rhythm. Exercise is another one, timing of exercise, daily and seasonal fluctuations in temperature, and lastly, eating, so timing of eating, and that's what we're going to be focusing on today. So if you wanted to kind of simplify it into one general recommendation, it would be eat when the sun is up. If you do that, it's tough to go wrong. But I'm going to go a little more in depth and kind of take you from sunrise to sundown. So we'll start with sunrise. During sunrise, your body has a natural release of cortisol. So this is a hormone that helps to wake you up and get you out of bed. And another one of its functions is to increase your blood sugar. So ideally, you're waking up with the sunrise, getting this natural cortisol spike, having naturally elevated levels of glucose, and that should keep you going for a couple hours. If you're waking up and you're extremely hungry and you just feel like you need to eat something right away, or you have no energy when you get up in the morning, that's a sign that your circadian rhythm is not functioning properly. So you need to pay attention to your light environment, as well as timing of eating. And contrary to what a lot of people talk about on the internet in regards to intermittent fasting, so a lot of people recommend skipping breakfast and then having lunch and dinner, and that's okay. That it's going to be different for everyone and what works with your schedule and whatnot and your biology, but it's actually more beneficial to have an earlier eating window. So you do want to eat in the morning if possible, and then just cut off your eating window a little earlier on in the day, so having like an early dinner. And the studies show that early time restricted feeding is actually superior to a later eating window. So ideally, you want to be fasting for at least 12 hours. So that's the minimum that pretty much everyone can follow. There might be some exceptions here and there, but aim for a minimum of 12 hours of fasting. After a few hours of waking, you can break your fast. And according to your circadian rhythm, this is when you have optimal digestive function. So digestive enzymes, those levels are going to be highest earlier on in the day, as well as insulin sensitivity. So that means that the glucose and carbohydrates that you're eating, they're going to be able to get into your cell and use for energy efficiently if you're eating them earlier on in the day. And this is consistent with traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine. They've always been talking about this, eating when the sun is at its highest or earlier on in the day. And another reason you want to do this is because you want to time those calories so that you're actually expending them as energy, right? So your energy expenditure is going to be highest throughout the day. There's no point in you eating a huge meal right before bed, because you're just going to be lying there and sleep. You're not going to be utilizing that energy properly. As opposed to daily activities, you can use those calories from the morning or midday to carry you throughout the day. So later on in the day, once the sun goes down, you want to be starting to think about starting your fast or stopping eating. So ideally, you would want to do that 3 to 4 hours before you go to bed. You should be in bed around 10 p.m. if you can, because that's when your deep sleep cycles start and you get those physical regenerative effects of sleep. So if you backtrack, that would be stopping eating at around 6 or 7 p.m. if you can. And so contrary to early in the morning when your insulin sensitivity is the highest, at night it's actually the lowest. So if you're eating lots of food at night, your body doesn't know how to break it down and utilize it properly. And it's going to disrupt your sleep. So sleep, there's plenty of benefits, but basically you're increasing your cell regeneration and repair, and especially your digestive system. So in today's society, we're eating nonstop. Your digestive system never really gets a break, and that leads to a lot of gut issues, which kind of translates into other dysfunction in the body. As well, detoxification pathways, in particular your lymphatic system, so draining toxins from your brain, those are all upregulated at night. Fat burning is a big one during sleep. A lot of people don't really focus on the importance of sleep for burning fat, but when your circadian rhythm's intact and your mitochondria are working properly, you're burning your own fat for energy at night because you're not eating. So, and another benefit is autophagy. So autophagy is autophagy, self-eating, and your body basically breaks down dysfunctional cell parts and proteins and recycles those for use of healthy cells. It's kind of like the holy grail of anti-aging right now. So you're not going to get these benefits if you're eating late at night, because that's going to disrupt your circadian rhythm and your cellular function is going to be off at night, so to speak. All right, so that's kind of an overview of circadian rhythm. So like I said, eat when the sun is up as a general rule. Try to keep your eating window to 12 hours or less. And it's important to keep in mind that there will be seasonal differences. So in the winter, we have a shorter photo period, less sunlight, and that's when we should be having a more restricted eating window, so more fasting. I live in Canada, and sometimes the sun is down by like 4 or 5 p.m., so that's when I stop eating. When it's dark, I don't consume any calories. Whereas in the summer, we have a longer photo period, and it's okay to eat for a longer period. And that's naturally when we'd be putting on more weight to store for the winter, and then you burn that weight, burn off that excess fat in the winter. But we don't really do that anymore because we're able to eat all the time. So, yeah, so basically when you're trying to implement this, don't have any calories during your fasting window. So you can still have like herbal teas, water, coffee, as long as you're not putting anything in that. I'd stay away from diet pops and those types of drinks because the artificial sweeteners will cause some issues. But other than that, you're free to have any calorie-free liquids. Yeah, and work your way up. So a lot of people, you might be starting with 12 hours, and that's fine for you. But once you get used to that and your body gets better at burning fat, then you can go longer and longer. And the optimal window is probably somewhere between eating within a 6 to 10 hour eating window if you can. Some people even eat once a day. It kind of depends, but work your way up, minimum 12 hours, and yeah, I hope it goes well for you. If you have any questions, comments, if there's any topics you'd like us to cover, let us know. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Natural Academy. We're also going to be posting some videos on YouTube, and you can visit our website, naturalacademy.com. All right, thanks for watching.